In this video, I'll guide you through the real, practical steps to start a poultry farm, whether you're planning to begin with just 100 layers or as many as 10,000. You'll learn everything you need to know, from how much land you'll require, to the size and structure of the chicken house, the types and cost of feed, how many eggs to expect per day, your total revenue, your daily and overall profit, and the exact day you'll break even. And don't worry, we'll calculate all this live before you even spend a single coin. Before we dive into the numbers, let me explain the tool I'm using to make all these calculations so simple and reliable. This is a complete poultry farming calculator and management system that I've developed and tested over the past 1 year. It's not just a calculator, it's your business brain for poultry farming. It allows you to plan your farm before investing any money at all and shows you exactly how much feed you'll need, what it will cost, and how many eggs you should expect every single day. It also gives you a clear view of your expected revenue, meaning the total amount of money you should be earning from selling eggs. More importantly, it helps you track your daily profits and tells you the exact day your farm will recover all its costs and begin making profit. That point is called the break-even point. The tool even warns you early if something's not right, like if your chickens are not eating enough, are stressed, or are getting sick. What's great is that this system is flexible. Whether you're starting with 100 birds or 10,000, it adjusts all calculations instantly to fit your scale. That way, you can make decisions based on real numbers, not guesswork, and manage your poultry farm like a serious business. Now let's enter our example data and see how it works in action. First, we go to the dashboard tab in the tool and begin by entering key information about the farm setup. For this example, let's say I'm starting with 500 layer birds, so I'll type in 500. Next, we enter the feed prices. Chickens go through different stages of growth, and each stage requires a specific type of feed. We begin with starter feed, which is given to chicks during their first few weeks. In my area here in Uganda, it costs $0.7 per kilogram, so I enter 0.7. I'm using US dollars in this calculation because it's universally recognized and makes it easier for viewers from different parts of the world to follow along. However, you can always input your local currency based on feed prices in your country. The tool will still give you accurate results either way. As the birds grow older, they move on to grower feed. This feed is slightly cheaper, costing $0.6 per kilogram, so I type in 0.6. Once the chickens reach maturity and begin laying eggs, we switch to layer feed. This is the feed used for adult layers. Where I buy it, it goes for $0.5 per kilogram, so I enter 0.5. Each layer chick costs $1.5, so I add that into the system as well. Now let's set the price for eggs. In my local market, a tray of eggs, which holds 30 eggs, sells for about $3.3. So I enter 3.3 as the tray price. Since I'll be handling the daily tasks myself, feeding, cleaning, egg collection, I don't need to hire extra help. That means my labor cost is $0, and I enter that into the calculator. For miscellaneous costs, I include things like vaccination, transport, and utilities. I don't pay electricity bills because I use solar power, and water is free from a nearby source. So for me, all extra costs like vaccines and transport come to around $14 per month. That's the amount I enter in the miscellaneous section. Lastly, I type in the number of eggs in one tray. In Uganda, a standard egg tray contains 30 eggs, so I enter 30. Once all this basic data is entered, I press enter, and the tool automatically updates every other section based on this input. From here, we move to the structure and equipment sheet. Since we entered 500 birds, the tool immediately tells me how much space I'll need for housing. It recommends 100 square meters of space if I'm using the deep litter system. To get the 100 square meters of space, the tool suggests a house that is 7 meters wide and 14.3 meters long. Of course, you can adjust the shape slightly to fit your land, but the width should never go beyond 7 meters. That's because proper air circulation is crucial. If the house is too wide, fresh air won't move evenly through the building and your chickens can get sick. So whatever the shape, just make sure the total area is 100 square meters and keep that width at 7 meters or less. Next, the system shows me the number of drinkers, feeders, and nesting boxes I'll need. These are essential items. The tool tells me I'll need 10 drinkers for 500 birds. That's because each drinker should serve no more than 50 chickens, so everyone gets enough water. Feeders are what we use to give the chickens their feed, and for 500 birds, I'll need 20 feeders. That ensures they don't fight or compete for food, which can cause stress and lower egg production. Then we have nesting boxes. These are small private spaces where chickens go to lay their eggs. The calculator recommends 125 nesting boxes. This setup gives each bird enough comfort and privacy, which helps improve egg laying consistency. Once the housing and equipment plan is ready, we move to the daily record sheet. This is where you track the actual day-to-day feeding and production on your farm. For example, on the first day of the first week, the tool shows that 500 baby chicks will need 6 kilograms of starter feed. Since we entered a starter feed price of $0.7 per kilogram, the total feed cost for that day will be $4.20. This kind of tracking continues for each day of the cycle, automatically adjusting the type and quantity of feed as the birds grow older. Now let's talk about laying percentage. You might be wondering why egg production shows as 0 in the early days. That's because chickens don't start laying eggs right away. They need time to grow and mature. Usually layers begin laying around week 18. At that point, a healthy batch of 500 birds should start laying at about 3.8%. That means out of 500 chickens, only around 18 will lay an egg on the first day. But don't worry, that number increases steadily week by week as more birds reach maturity. The tool also calculates the expected number of eggs per day and the number of trays those eggs will fill. This lets you compare the actual egg count you collect against what's expected. If the number of eggs you're getting is far below the expected amount, it might be a warning sign. It could mean your birds aren't eating enough feed, or that they're stressed, possibly sick, or that you bought low-quality stock. Early detection like this is one of the most powerful features of this system. It helps you act fast before things get worse. Now let's talk about revenue. Revenue is the total amount of money your farm earns from selling eggs. The system calculates it by multiplying the number of trays produced each day by the price of one tray, which we entered earlier as $3.3. For example, if your chickens lay enough eggs to fill 10 trays in one day, your revenue for that day will be $33. It's simple but very important because this number tells you how much money is coming in. Next, we look at daily profit. This is how much money you actually make each day after subtracting your costs. The tool calculates your daily profit by taking your daily revenue and removing all daily expenses like feed cost and any miscellaneous costs. If your revenue is higher than your expenses, then you have a positive daily profit. If it's lower, then you're making a loss that day. Seeing this figure every day helps you stay aware of how your farm is doing financially without guessing. There's also a running total called accumulated profit. This shows how much money your farm has made in total, starting from day one all the way to the current day. It adds up the profit from each day so you can see the bigger picture. Maybe some days had low profit, maybe others had high profit, but this total gives you the overall result. One of the most important features of this system is the break-even flag. This is a special column that tells you the exact day your farm recovers all the money you spent to start it. That moment is called the break-even point. On this day, your total profit becomes equal to your total startup expenses. Before this day, everything you earn is going toward recovering your costs. After this day, every single dollar you make is pure profit. The break-even flag works very simply. As long as you haven't yet covered your total costs, the flag shows a 0. That means you're still in the recovery stage. But the moment you cross the break-even line, the flag changes to 1. That's a signal that you have now earned back everything you spent to start the farm. From that day forward, all the income from selling eggs is yours to keep. You can even start using your daily profit to buy feed or expand your farm without touching your savings. In the example we're using, with 500 birds, the system shows that break-even happens on week 34, day 4. That means by this point, just over 8 months into the cycle, you have recovered all costs and the business is officially in profit. This is a powerful moment in any farm project. It's where stress turns into satisfaction and where your hard work begins to show visible rewards. Next, we move to the feed program sheet. This section gives you a full breakdown of the feeding schedule from day 1 to the end of the cycle. It shows exactly how much feed to give each bird and what type of feed to use, starter, grower, or layer, depending on their age. This makes it easy to follow a professional feeding plan, so your chickens stay healthy and productive. Now let's look at the egg production sheet. This part of the tool shows the expected percentage of birds that should be laying eggs on each day of the cycle. It's based on the natural growth and maturity timeline of healthy layers. Early on, the percentage will be 0 because young birds are still growing and can't lay eggs yet. But starting from around week 18, that percentage begins to rise. For example, if the expected laying percentage is 20%, it means 1 in every 5 chickens should lay an egg that day. So with 500 birds, you should expect about 100 eggs. Since a tray holds 30 eggs, that would be just over 3 trays. The great thing about this sheet is that it helps you track whether your flock is performing well. If the actual number of eggs is much lower than the expected number, then something is wrong. Your birds could be underfed, uncomfortable, stressed, or even ill. On the other hand, if your actual numbers match or exceed the expected ones, then you know you're doing something right. The egg production sheet also helps you set realistic expectations. Some people wrongly think that chickens lay an egg every day without fail, but in reality, even healthy layers won't lay every single day. This tool uses proven standards to help you understand what's normal and what's not, so you're not disappointed or confused along the way. Now let's move to the final and most important part of the tool, the summary sheet. This is where all the numbers come together in one place. At the top, you'll see the break-even day again. This tells you the exact day your revenue becomes equal to your total expenses. But what does that really mean? Imagine all the money you've spent on feed, chicks, equipment, and other costs has been slowly getting paid back by your egg sales. On break-even day, those payments catch up. From that day forward, every egg you sell brings in real net profit. You'll also see something called profit on break-even day. This number tells you exactly how much money you've made by the time you break even. It might not be a large amount, but it shows that your farm is now running in the green, and it only gets better from there. There's a line showing total feed cost. That's the full amount of money you'll spend on feed from day 1 to the end of the cycle. Feed is usually the biggest cost in poultry farming, so it's important to plan for it carefully. Then we have the labor cost. Since I entered 0 earlier, because I'm doing all the work myself, this line will show 0. But if you hire workers, this number will be higher, depending on how much you pay them. We also see miscellaneous cost, which includes all those extra things like vaccinations, transport, and other small expenses. It's a small number, but it adds up over time. The chick purchase cost shows how much money you spent buying your birds. This is your starting investment, and it's included in the total expense calculation. Next on the summary sheet is total expenses. This is the complete amount of money you've spent to run the farm, everything combined. It includes the cost of feed, labor, miscellaneous items, and the chicks themselves. It doesn't include land or buildings because those are one-time investments that can be used over and over again with future flocks. We're focusing here on the running costs of one production cycle. Right below that is total revenue. This number shows how much money your farm earned from selling eggs during the entire cycle. It's the total income before removing any expenses. And finally, we have total profit. This is the most important number. It's calculated by taking your total revenue and subtracting all your expenses. That result is your net profit, the real money you've made after covering all your costs. In our example with 500 layers, the tool shows that by the end of the production cycle, you earn a net profit of $5,628. That's not including the money you can make by selling the old birds after they stop laying, which adds even more value. This result is based on ending the cycle at week 80. But you can extend the project to week 100 if your birds are still productive, and that will increase your profits even further. This setup delivers a profit margin of around 37%. That means for every $100 you spend, you make $37 in profit. That kind of return is rare in many businesses. In fact, most other ventures bring in 20% or even less. So this kind of farming, when done right, can be a powerful source of income. And remember, this profit is calculated without including the cost of land, the chicken house, or equipment, because those are one-time investments. Once you build them, they can serve you for many years and multiple flocks, making future cycles even more profitable. That's why I always say, don't guess, plan with precision. Know exactly how much you'll spend, how much you'll earn, and when you'll start making profit. To help you get started the right way, I have made this tool available for download. Just click the link in the description to get your own copy and begin planning your poultry farm with confidence. This Excel-based tool works well on smartphone, laptop, and iPad. If you are using smartphone, download app like WPS Office or any other document reader and open the file. For more assistance, you can contact me on WhatsApp using the link in the description. As you've seen, feed is the highest cost in poultry production. But the good news is, I've created several videos where I share practical tips and proven strategies to reduce feed costs without compromising the health or productivity of your birds. So if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and watch the next video to learn more about how to run your poultry farm smarter, more efficiently, and more profitably. See you in the next one.